Anyways, continuing what I was saying, I feel kind of, stuck, here in this. I'm not even, in this kind of like, side reality where all these little fantasies they're taking place, and like they're taking my life in a certain direction, and yet I'm kind of stuck there because I'm getting rid of it, but some of the attachments they're still very much present. And as I mentioned, I don't really know how to break free from them. I think that the best idea would have been for my reality to exist in a way that it is so appeasing to me that like those other things won't even like have like I won't give them the time of the day, because what I have going on is just so good. And I don't, yeah, the thing is that considering what I want, like, and I don't even mean the specifics, I mean like the general, but taking a step back and looking at the big picture, like what I want, like there are so many possibilities, and yet none of them are like what's happening. And I am right now in, as I mentioned the other day, it's kind of like paradise right here, and yet I'm still kind of stuck. This is not really enough to pull me away from certain fantasies. And it's kind of like really disheartening, because I'm like, if this cannot get me away, then like what exactly will? Like there's nothing in my life that is going to like appeal to me as much as some of like these ideas, these possibilities that keep floating around in my head, and I can remove them entirely. I keep pushing them away, and like that kind of works a little bit, but they seem to always come back. Like I make little kind of like two steps forward, one, sometimes it's like one step forward, two steps back. It feels like that's the progression here. But yeah, but that's it. I think I just needed to vent about this reality. I was like passing sunscreen, and then I just put on like a silly little video for me to watch, but it kind of like ended up leading to like a certain reality, to a certain past reality basically. And I was kind of lost there. I was kind of feeling like I'd been kind of like robbed out of something. No, I had not. It was never mine to begin with. It was only in these, realities in my head that it was, kind of like mine to claim. But I still feel like, doing that. I still feel like it is, I'm not doing that, but I feel like the attachment, and, it makes everything feel so bitter. Yeah, she was like, I'm losing something, and I don't want to do without it. Even if it's just like completely random and not really, realistic, I still kind of want it. And I think that the worst thing is that I don't have it, but someone at some point will have it. And then, because it's one thing for something to just float around, kind of like not really existing, just being a possibility, and then you compare reality to like that possibility. It's a different thing when you have something concrete, and then you have to compare what you don't have with what somebody else has. And I say somebody else, but it's more like in this particular case like an organization, which does make it kind of like better, right? It's not really a person, it's just an institution, and they are kind of holding it. I mean, I think that is better, but it is not ideal. It still it leaves me feeling at loss. So maybe that's what I have to do. I have to kind of like mourn the loss of this thing that never really was, and that never really would be. But it was kind of it presented itself as a real concrete possibility in my head at a certain point, and that's kind of that is as good as it gets, I think. But as I said, moving on from like this, so today it's the last day my grandpa is around, and we're gonna leave around like 1 p.m. to go take him to like the ferry, and then he's gonna go there, and then it's going to the gonna take the bus to go back home. And my dad is also arriving today, this evening, and then we're gonna start the second half of our trip. And like we already have ideas as for like what we're gonna do, and we might rent a car someday to kind of like go to some some of the neighboring towns, some of which are actually part of this municipality. Like for example, this city that we are here, this town is actually part of a different there's like a bigger town, and then some other ones they're the same thing. There are some that like they are their own city, with like a limited population compared to I mean actually like the population from like this town that we're in, like not just this town, but like the bigger metropolitan area is like 170,000 people, which is not a lot. Like my city is like 2.5 million inhabitants, and 5 million should take the general metropolitan area. So it's kind of like small compared to it, but it's kind of like good because it is a touristic spot, and like need if there's like already too many people living here, it feels too crowded. So it's good. And also like this one of those cities that has, I'm calling it a city, but it's not a city, it's a town. And it has like people all year round, although some times of the year like there's like more people. Like right now it's already fall here. So, and then since autumn has started, I mean we're gonna have a holiday, Easter, have the Holy Week. I don't know if that's what we call it like in English, but it is that in Portuguese. So they're going to have some events here, and then after that I think it's going to go kind of things are going to kind of like calm down for a little bit, because then it is winter coming. Of course the winter here is pretty much not proper winter, if you think about cold and stuff, but it's still because it is a tropical city, but it is colder than it is. So I think about the water might be colder, because at this point in time it is fall, but it is still pretty hot, and it is also like the water is like mostly delightful. The places that we go to, I mean the further you go, like the colder it is, but here near the shore, it is pretty great. I think this, and I think it actually right now is pretty great, because like when it's really summer, it is too hot. It's just, yeah, and then it's not like as pleasant. So right now it's already pretty hot. Imagine in the summer. But yeah, so that's kind of like what we have for today. We're gonna go out. We're gonna go to the very end of like the bay over there, and then we're gonna come back, and then we're gonna go once again with my grandpa to drop him off at the ferry, and then we're gonna come back by the beach. It's still going to be it's going to be hot, but yeah, it's fun, it's fine. It's actually more than fine. Like it's pretty great that I have to have this opportunity of being here around the beach, and really enjoying myself. But I don't know, as I said, my head is pretty weird. It is thankfully not like in a very down mood. I don't have like the certain thoughts that I've been having about the end. They're not really here, so that's great. That is very much what I wanted, but I'm still like not the most motivated to do things. But I'm still gonna, but the key is for you to just actually start, like just do it. Just go out there and do it. I mean, of course, like if you're just a little bit too down here, like then it is really hard for you to sometimes even get up. But that's not really where I am at right now. I'm kind of like the pre-depression. It is not depression yet. Depression, it is kind of like a step before that, and in the step I can still kind of go around and enjoy myself in this this great time, because I don't know what's the next time I'm gonna have the opportunity of going somewhere on vacation. Semester is going to start in school, and like the resources that I saved to be here, they're being used, so I have to save more money to travel again. And I don't know where we're gonna go, because since we're here at my aunt's place, we are saving money with like our lodging, and also we brought food, so we also save money for food. This we can always do, but yeah, before to go come back here, because my aunt's gonna rent us like kind of like the full season. I'd have to pay the money for where we're gonna stay, and that's like an extra cost that really adds up. It's kind of like I think one of the more expensive things that we do. It is like the money that we spend on like the hotels or resorts or inns, wherever it is that you're staying. But yeah, so yeah, I've talked about I think everything I wanted to say, the theme of attachments, and about my day and where my head is at. I also like my number one, not my number one priority, but a priority that I have right now is working on my novel, but not only just working directly, but figuring out how to work on it, because as I mentioned yesterday and the other days, I've been struggling to kind of get going you know, to just really write these down, to add words to the page. I've been like staring at the document, you know, with like nothing to add. And I mean, as I said, I'm like not, you know, in my perfect state of mind that I usually have to be in for me to just write consistently. But you know, like there are loopholes that I can find, you know, in this particular state of mind that I am in, and that's pretty much what I'll be focusing on, just loopholes. But yeah, so I think that's it. Anyways, bye.